Like I said, control our own destiny. It's up to us, and we know that, and we just got to come out and play our game and play hard, and keep the crowd. The crowd's gonna be big, and it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and we just got to keep our heads and play our game.
Washburn, obviously in your hometown, I'm sure you know a lot of guys up there. But what's that like going against them? And do you hear much from those guys this week?
Oh yeah, I hear stuff all the time. My parents live back there, and the rest of my family. So you hear little bits in here and there, but I try not to worry about it and try not to think about it. And so yeah, like you said, I know a lot of the guys on the team, and it's gonna be a fun game, and I'm excited to play against them.
They're very balanced on offense. What are some keys for your defense Saturday?
We got to play the run well, and I think we've done that pretty good so far this year. And then, they're a lot more balanced team than I think we've seen in the past couple of weeks. And so I think that we just got to read our keys and play our game.
I'm with Brian Atkinson with the Jon Thomas Globe. What do you, obviously Semino is a great quarterback. What do you see from him on film, and what are some of the keys and kind of reading him and slowing him down a little bit?
He's a really good quarterback. He throws the ball very well, and he throws the ball on time. And I think we got to get some pressure on him, not let him sit back in the pocket and pick us apart. I think that we just got to play good, sound defense and, not get in over heads and do anything out of character or anything like that. And I think if we play our game, that I think we're going to come out on top.
How big is it that the last time you guys were out, defense really put together a great game and stopped a really good offense? How does that carry over even through the bye week?
I think it gives us confidence, and we know what we can do, and we know our weaknesses and our better standpoints. So I think that we'll be okay. So.
Hey Luke, I'm Greg Grislon. I'm with Team Con. You kind of talked about it a little bit with Eddie, but would you guys have rather played the week before this big game, or would you rather play, or would you rather have the time off?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Once things get rolling, you hate to go idle. You don't want to, you want to keep things rolling, and especially when they're going the way they've been going so far for us. But like I said, I think that we got a lot of guys, with their legs back underneath them, and I think that we're excited and we're hungry, and that we've had a few more days to prepare than they have. So hopefully that works in our advantage.
The thing that I see, at least looking at the statistics comparing the two teams, I think Washburn's the #1 team in the conference as far as their red zone offense. Pitt State's #2 in red zone defense. So from a defensive standpoint, what do you guys need to do to keep Washburn from scoring points inside the 20?
I think we need to, play good coverage on their receivers, and we just need to, everybody needs to do their assignments, and, just play how, we play, and not get, in over our heads or too excited, and just, play good defense.
Luke Brinsby with KOAM and Fox 14. What kind of atmosphere are you expecting at Kearney Smith on Saturday?
I think it's gonna be loud. I think it's gonna be hopping. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So we're all really excited to play, and we've had some pretty big crowds this year, and I think that this game being the what kind of game it stands for, I think that there's gonna be even that much more fun and louder, and a lot more people. So.
We're joined now by senior wide receiver Jon Thomas. Jon will take questions from the group. Jon, Eddie Lomchek with KKOW Radio. Can you talk about just dealing with a bye week? You guys were obviously had a lot of momentum. What's it like, and how do you feel about dealing with that bye week?
Having a bye week, it can be a positive thing or a negative thing, and I think it was a positive for us because it gave us an extra week to be able to prepare for Washburn, who's going to be a really tough team. And so I think we did a good job preparing and using that time to our advantage.
You look back at the most recent game, Central Missouri, offensively, how did you feel you guys played there?
I thought we played pretty good at times kind of close to the end of the second half, and we could have, the first half, we could have drove down and scored some more points. We kind of didn't, and we kind of got complacent where we were, and because we had a pretty good lead, and so I think we just need to stay hungry whenever we're up in that situation like we were in against Central.
You had that big play, bounce off a couple of guys, it turns into a touchdown. It was at a key point in the game. Take me back through that and what you thought happened there.
It was just a simple play that we run quite often, and Zach hit me, and I got hit pretty quickly after that, and luckily I stayed on my feet and took it to the end zone, and I had two guys running down there blocking for me and escorting me into the end zone, Andrew Castaneda and John Brown, and just that hustle alone, that's really what got us that touchdown, because I wasn't going to outrun that guy by myself, because I was dinged up and I was tired. So that team effort, I think that's gonna help us in the games to come.
Washburn won here a year ago. I don't know necessarily revenge. Is it any extra motivation knowing they did beat you here last year?
It is. When somebody comes into your own house and beats you, it's tough. It's always tough losing, but especially in your own house, it's very tough. And we didn't play very well the first half. In the second half, we kind of got it together and lost in overtime. And so it was just very unfortunate being able to come out here and not perform like we should last year.
With Jon Thomas, I know there are a lot of differences on these two teams from last year, but there are a lot of same key people. Take me back to that, because I know after the game last year against Washburn, there's a lot of talk about how a lot of the guys that were new in the second half, they found out what guerrilla football was all about, the way you guys came back. And then you guys pretty much, for the most part, finished on a strong note the rest of the year. So was that a turning point at all last year? Did you think that kind of got things going at all for this year?
I don't know. It's hard to say. We do have a lot of new players coming in this year, and I think just our overall our team camaraderie is a lot better than last year's. And so I don't know if that was because of that Washburn game in that second half or not. If we would have been playing like that the whole year, we would have had a totally different year. So I don't know if that was just that game that was a turning point. I think it's just the fact that we realized that we weren't playing Pittsburgh State guerrilla football that entire year, and so we needed to make changes. And so working harder in the off season, in the summer, I think that's what made the difference between last year and this year.
Tell me about their defense. What have you guys seen on film from them?
They got tough defense. They're fast and they hit hard. They stop the run really well, and so we're a run heavy offense, and so that's going to be a good battle to see out there and see who's going to win.
I'm sure the players don't pay a lot of attention to the regional rankings, but you guys are number one. So basically, you control your destiny here for the top seed in the playoffs. How much do you like that, the fact you guys control your own destiny?
I think I don't know if I like being number one, per se, because when you're number one, everybody's out to get you. Everybody wants you to lose, and so that's not really the best position to be in. But we've earned that, and so. I think that us being able to control our own destiny from here on out, I think we have a challenge being able to come out here against Washburn, because they're going to be tough, and seeing if we can keep that number one ranking that we deserve. So.
Jon Thomas with KOAM, Fox 14. What kind of atmosphere are you expecting here on Saturday?
I'm hoping for a big one. There's been sellouts. I don't know how many games that we had this year, but the stands haven't been completely full. And so I'm hoping that the fans get in here and want to watch us play and want to cheer us on to a victory on Saturday.
Hey John, Greg Grizzolano with Team Com. Would you rather play the week before such a big game, or are you okay with the time off, or would you rather play?
I would probably rather play. I was sitting in my house watching football on Saturday, and just man, I want to go, I want to play, and so that kind of stinks having that week off. But like I mentioned earlier, it gave us a little bit more time to prepare. We have some guys that have some injuries, and give them a little bit more time to heal up, and so hopefully having that bye week will help us.
Are you concerned at all about the offense maybe coming out a little flat or rusty to start the game?
No, I'm not. We seem to be doing pretty well. Like against Central, we came out strong, and we stayed that way. So as long as we do that, then we're not going to have a problem, I don't think.
Coach Ryan Atkinson with the Jon Globe. I asked John this. I know there are a lot of different faces here this year, but last year after Washburn came in that second half, there was a lot of talk in the press conference about everybody kind of realized what Pitt State football was all about. And he's still, he lost a couple games after that, but still, do you think for the guys that are here and playing key roles, some of them, that was that kind of a turning point at all for the program?
Yeah, I think in the offseason we talked about the game that we played at Northwest, where we played really, pretty good for the most part in the whole game. In the second half of the Washburn game are games that we used as references to last year that, we've got to find ways to play that hard all the time. And we played really poor in the first half of the Washburn game last year, and got a little spark, and and played much better in the second half, but wasn't able to finish it. So I think those are definitely things that we did talk about in the offseason.
And what, with Semino being back, what's the key? What did you guys do differently in the second half, and what have you seen on the film so far? What's the key to slowing him down?
Well, I don't know if there is a key to slowing him down. He's better than ever. Extremely good player. He really throws the ball on time, maybe as good as anybody we've seen ever. And he's obviously, been in so many games. He's very confident in what he does. And, you can get to him every now and then, but for the most part, it's really hard because he knows when he starts to feel pressure, he's going to get rid of it. But, he's what makes him go offensively. And our defensive line, trying to apply pressure, either getting their hands up or whatever they can do, the more we can do, obviously, the better off we'll be. So, but, last year's game, we were able just to put some pressure on at times and had a key interception, obviously, in overtime that Nate made and was able to kind of hang in there. We just weren't able to finish it.
I know you don't look at it too much till the end of the year, but how's it feel to not even play all week and the team in front of you to win, but you still jump number one in the region?
Well, we just don't put too much stock in the whole thing. There's nothing we can do to control any of it, so there's not too much reason to worry about too much of it. So we just we got to go take care of business, and we talked to our team about let's make sure we understand what got us to the point where we're at, and that's every week we've talked about what our record is, and we've got one more to go. And so this week it's we've got 8 down, 1 to go. Got to concentrate on Washburn. Talk to our players about the last 2 weeks doing everything off the field the right way and doing what you're supposed to be doing, and make sure we're giving ourselves the best possible chance to win the game.
Coach Greg Grizzolano with Team Con. Do you think this extra time off has been beneficial, or would you have rather played Saturday as opposed to have a week off?
Well, we told our team you got to make the best of it. It's whatever you make it to be, and we felt like it has been really beneficial as far as getting some of our guys' legs underneath them a little bit, and we've got one young man had a high ankle sprain, one young man's got a sore shoulder and ankle and this and that, and those things have helped. That time off's definitely helped that. You always take a risk of getting somebody hurt in practice, but I think we were smart about what we did last week, and I think once you get into a rhythm, you playing every week, you're really into that rhythm. But I think the time off was very beneficial to us.
In terms of getting people back
Yes.
up to speed.
Yes.
Are you concerned at all about if you're flat or a little rusty, haven't had such a layover between games?
No, not really, because we've still practiced at a very fast pace. We haven't always went as long as we would normally practice, but we went offense versus defense and still practice at a very fast pace. So our timing should be fine.
Hi, Coach. Brock from Morning Sun. Like the Missouri game is in applying pressure on their offense, probably one of the keys to defense.
No question. Their passing efficiency is really, really good. The amount of yards that they're throwing for a game is really good. They're different than Central, though, because Central, you knew they were going to throw it and try to catch you off guard with a draw every now and then or something like that, where Washburn's better in the run game than Central was. So they're better at being closer to being balanced. And so that makes it much more difficult to know when you want to apply pressure on a quarterback. So, it should be a great game, and it should be a lot of fun because our defense had such a good game at Central. It'll be a lot of fun to see how our defense matches up against Washburn.
They close out the season on 2 games at home. In a way, you can't ask for a better place to play than those final games of the season.
No question. We love playing here, and our crowds have been awesome up to this point, and so we think that a couple top 10 teams in the country, it ought to be a great atmosphere, and hope that our crowd will really get into it. And we kind of we talked about this a couple of times, but a goal of ours has been to get good enough defensively where when our defense trots out on the field, that we get people standing up and cheering on first down and not wait till third down. And our defense has had a really good year up to this point, so hopefully we'll get some help on Saturday.
Defense and special teams have both really had a good year. Is that, something you hope continues for the rest of the season?
Well, every play, and special teams are going to be a huge part again this week. But every play is going to be extremely important in a game like this. And so it's not like you can just have a sigh of relief after a big play. You got to be ready for the next play. You have to have short-term memory and let's get on with the next play and play extremely hard.
Coach, Greg from Team Dog again. I looked up, Washburn is the #1 team in the conference in terms of their red zone efficiency on offense, and they score almost 90% of the time they're in the 20. What's the key for your defense to keep them out of the end zone come Saturday?
They do a really tremendous job of throwing. Some people call it a glance route or a post route, and it's really hard to defend. You've got to put enough people in there to defend the run, so you end up getting singled up on the edge with your receivers, and the receivers are good-sized kids that can use their body well, and so they do some really nice things in the red zone, and that's obviously something that we've spent a lot of time on. And we have spent a lot of time in Mayday situations. So again, our defense sees our offense going full speed, not always exactly the same routes, but at least we're going at a really fast pace. But being in the red zone they are very efficient, and again, it's going to be the same kind of things. So we're going to have to find a way to get pressure, find a way to cover, don't get tricked, and it'll be a really key matchup and a big part of the game.
Absolutely. And just in the interest of fairness, Coach, Pitt State's defense is #2 in the conference and keeping points off the board when opponents are in the red zone. So.
Yeah, and you look at all the statistics, and between Pittsburgh State's offense and defense and Washburn's offense and defense, we're kind of in the top in most everything. Obviously, we're not passing offense, but we're kind of in the top, and that's what's to be expected when you get towards the end of the year. There are just certain things you look at, and turnovers will be a huge part of the game, and Central really worked hard at trying to get turnovers against us a couple weeks ago. But because they did that, sometimes they didn't tackle quite as well, and so we were able to pick up extra yards maybe when we shouldn't have. So there's a lot of little things like that'll be big factors in the game. Mm-hmm.
Eric Knapp from KSM TV. Could you update Chaz Smith's situation?
Chaz has practiced and he will suit up for Saturday. Whether or not he's ready to play or not, we're not sure on that. But the doctors have determined that he does have a partially torn ACL, but they're going to allow him to brace it and play. So we'll just have to see. Like I said, he practiced yesterday. He's ran the last week and a half and feels really good. But how much he's plant and backpedaled and plant and drove off of it and those kind of things, he's done that some, but not to the extent where he'll just be all of a sudden thrown right into the fire. So he'll suit up and will probably be serviceable, but we'll just have to wait and see till Saturday how much he plays, if any.
And again, knowing where you stand in the regional rankings, I know you guys don't put a lot of attention to it, but knowing that you control your destiny here for the top seed in the playoffs, how much do you like that?
Well, we like it. We just don't talk about it much. Our players understand; they know. But again, as a reminder, we talked about, hey, there's a lot of things to talk about right now because of where we're at. But we've got to focus on one thing, and that's to play well every play. And so, it'll be something that, if we're fortunate enough to win this football game, it'll be a lot easier to talk about next week. So we'll have to wait and see.